To Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you, Mr. Cuomo. And furthermore, the name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it because we got to get it right.
Yeah,
Mr. Lander.
What said is he has no experience. And this is not a job for someone who has no management experience to run 300,000 people, no financial experience to run $115 billion budget. He literally has never had a job. On his resume, it says he interned for his mother. This is not a job for a first-timer. Any day, you could have a hurricane, you have, God forbid, a 9/11, a health pandemic. If you don't know what you're doing,
Cuomo.
people could die.
Mr. Mamdani, want to respond?
And if we have a health pandemic, then why would New Yorkers turn back to the governor who sent seniors to their death in nursing homes? That's the kind of experience that's on offer here today. What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
Yes.
Always a pleasure to hear Andrew Cuomo create his own facts at every debate stage. We just had a former governor say in his own words that the city has been getting screwed by the state. Who was leading the state? It was you.
Governor Hochul.
You were leading the state for
Governor
10 years,
Hochul.
screwing the city.
No.
You cut homelessness funding. You cut funding for the MTA. You did all of these things, my friend.
Mr. Mamdani's right. He's never done anything, period.
Mr. Mamdani.
This is a man who
Mamdani. Just say the name right, Mamdani.
This is a man who has done nothing. He's accomplished nothing. 3 bills are all he passed. He is the worst attendance record in the New York State Assembly. He has never held a real job. He has 0 accomplishments.
I want to be very
clear. And now
clear.
he thinks he's going to be ready to be mayor of the city of New York. It is laughable. It is laughable, and it is dangerous.
I want
really
Mr.
quick, and then
Cuomo
we're
to
gonna
look
move on.
out into the crowd and look at Richard Chow, who lost his brother to suicide because of the taxi driver debt crisis. I went with Mr. Chow over many, many months organizing to push this very city to finally reckon with its complicity in that, and we won $450 million in debt relief. And I want you to look at him and tell him that that's nothing.
Okay, let's
You passed
let's move
3
to.
bills.
When you use words referring to the only Jewish state in the world, like genocide and apartheid, when you call for divestment and all, that is inciting these mobs. And he says shared sense of humanity and all these nice-sounding words, but he has a double standard because if you search his Twitter feed, 15,000 tweets, Sudan, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia don't appear, yet the word Israel appears more than 50 times, the word genocide appears more than 26 times. So that tells you where his heart is.
Okay.
Briefly.
I am being smeared for echoing the same words as Israeli historians Amos Goldberg and Daniel Blattman. I am being mischaracterized on the stage for echoing the same words of a former Israeli Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, who said recently, "What we are doing in Gaza is a war of devastation. It is indiscriminate, limitless, cruel, and criminal killing of civilians." I say these things because far too often we take what can be a place of disagreement and instead start to broach beyond that. And these kinds of characterizations, they are part and parcel of what leads to the dehumanization in our city, which is why an elected official in our own city has called for me to be deported. It cannot be disentangled from what's going on right now.
Okay, thank you, candidate.
Point, but can you please answer about your own relationship with the Muslim community? You did not visit mosques for many years. More recently, you have been.
Yeah, I don't think in any way the assemblyman is representative of the Muslim community, which is a vital community in New York City, and I am very fond of and have been working with. I think he's playing his own politics. Many of his positions don't even follow the Muslim faith, so I see them as 2 totally separate things.
Mr. Mamdani, want to respond?
You know, it took Andrew Cuomo being beaten by a Muslim candidate in the Democratic primary for him to set foot in a mosque. He had more than 10 years, and he couldn't name a single mosque at the last debate we had that he visited. And what Muslims want in this city is what every community wants and deserves. They want equality, and they want respect. And it took me to get you to even see those Muslims as part of this city. And that, frankly, is something that is shameful and is why so many New Yorkers have lost faith in this politics. politics.
Yeah, except
You know,
that's totally false. I worked with the Muslim community for many years.
Name a single mosque you went to when you were the governor. Can you name a single mosque you went to in 10 years?
Whatever.
That the number one crisis in this city, the housing crisis, the answer is to evict my wife and I. He thinks you address this crisis by unleashing my landlord's ability to raise my rent. If you think that the problem in this city is that my rent is too low, vote for him. If you know the problem in this city is that your rent is too high, vote for me.
I know that you're turning 34 on Saturday, and I want to talk about your qualifications. Some say you have never run a business in your life, so I'm curious. And President Trump said that you never worked a day in your life. You've worked as an assemblyman, and you've had other positions in the government. But what qualifies you from your life experience to run the largest city in the country?
You know, I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump, and he may be watching right now, and I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who is ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I am going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
Now, there are some who oppose that vision. Billionaires like Bill Ackman and Ronald Lauder have poured millions of dollars into this race because they say that we pose an existential threat. And I am here to admit something. They are right. We are an existential threat to billionaires who think their money can buy our democracy. We are an existential threat to a broken status quo that buries the voices of working people beneath corporations. And we are an existential threat to a New York where a hard day's work isn't enough to earn you a good night's rest. And we are absolutely an existential threat to disgraced politicians like Andrew Cuomo, who diminish public trust, harass women, and are unabashed in their desperation to collaborate with Donald Trump and his donors.
He is the flip side of the coin of Trump. Trump says he'll boycott Cornell because they're anti-Israel. He says, I'll boycott Cornell because they're pro-Israel. Division is our death in this city, this state, and this nation. And division is what Trump sells. We should be selling unity, not the division that this man is spreading.
Mr. Mamdani.
It is ridiculous to hear Mr. Cuomo talk about himself as a man of unity when just yesterday we found out that his super PAC was sending mail that artificially darkened and lengthened my beard to stoke the very fears of that division in this city. The reason he doesn't have a message for Muslim New Yorkers is because he has nothing to say to us, because he doesn't see us as if we are every other New Yorker. And ultimately, the campaign that I am running is a campaign that seeks to go beyond the politics of the Trump era, where candidates on the stage describe me as a monster, describe me at the gates, where they say that I am, in fact, the other. This is a campaign to bring people together. It's why we have the support of Jewish and Muslim New Yorkers. It's why we have the support of people across the 5 boroughs. That's on this stage.
Wait, who are you going to ask your question to?
I'm asking it to Andrew Cuomo.
Okay.
I feel like most people would have known I'm going to ask Andrew Cuomo the question.
I knew.
I knew.
And you knew.
We did. We both knew.
We knew. We agree.
All of us on this stage have spoken about how Donald Trump is an existential threat to democracy, to this city, to this country. And Andrew Cuomo, you have received millions of dollars in funding from the very billionaires who put Donald Trump back into office. Will you now look at the camera and tell your super PAC to return those millions of dollars, and to your own campaign to return that close to $500,000 to ensure that this is not a race that is bought by those same Trump billionaires?
I know. I know you don't understand the law, but it would be illegal for me to direct an independent expenditure
Is
committee.
it illegal for you to direct your own campaign?
We believe that buses should be fast, and we believe that housing is far too expensive. We're going to build hundreds of thousands of affordable homes, take on bad landlords, and freeze the... And we believe that daycare shouldn't cost as much as a year's tuition at City College. That's why we're going to deliver universal. These are not just slogans. These are commitments. We say them. We say them not simply to inspire, but because it is what we will deliver. For all those who say, our time is coming, my friends, our time is now.
Let's quickly tick through all the things that Trump said about you, and let's get that out of the way, all right? Number one, he's attacking you as a communist. Are you?
No, I'm a democratic socialist. That means I believe in dignity for all people.
It means more than that.
Yeah, I think...
You're not a communist. I agree with that.
No, I'm not a communist. And I think, a lot of New Yorkers have asked me, what does it mean that you're a democratic socialist?
Yeah.
And I tell them to think about the words of Dr. King from decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And that's the heart of it.
I thought on that. You have said that you would arrest Netanyahu if he came to the United States. You've been very outspoken in your criticism of him. Do you stand by that? You would arrest him if he came here if you were mayor?
I've said that this is a city that believes in international law, and this is a city that wants to uplift and uphold those beliefs. The Prime Minister...
The United States doesn't stand by the International Criminal Court.
It hasn't signed the treaty for the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court, however, has issued a warrant for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu.
But what grounds in the United States could you arrest him on?
As it has for Vladimir Putin. I've said that I believe that we should uphold arrest warrants by the International Criminal Court, and that we should do so only in abiding with all of the laws in front of us. I'm not going to make a new law to ensure that we can actually do this.
Do you think that Commissioner Tisch would allow you to arrest Netanyahu in New York City?
I've appreciated Commissioner Tisch's leadership of the NYPD, and I think that she's done a good job at lowering crime across this city.
But do you think that she would go along with arresting Netanyahu in New York?
I can tell you that I'm going to exhaust every legal option in front of me, not to make new laws to do so.
All right, so
are you willing to do that? Will you do that?
I will work with the Trump administration when it is to the benefit of New Yorkers. My approach will never be reflexive, whether in agreement or opposition, but if it comes at the expense of the New Yorkers that I'm running to serve, then no, I will not be working with the administration on harming the people that I look to represent. We started this campaign, we thought we had a chance to win. We thought it was a very small chance. It would require everything to go the way that it needed to. And the first decision that we made was to listen to New Yorkers. A lot of times politicians will lecture New Yorkers as to what they should care about. Say, these are the things that you should be asking me about. And we wanted to go out to New Yorkers and ask them, what do you care about in this city? And we heard from them, cost of living, cost of living, cost of living.
Yeah.
Can't afford my rent, can't afford my childcare, can't afford my groceries, can't even afford $2.90 to ride the bus.
Right.
And so we decided to build an entire campaign around making the most expensive city in America affordable, because that's what New Yorkers were telling us.
Well, Assemblyman, over
The Assemblyman will not denounce Hamas. The Assemblyman will not denounce Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. The Assemblyman just said in his response, well, it depends on occupation. That is code, meaning that Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state, which he has never acknowledged. That is from the river to the sea. That's why he won't globalize the Intifada, which means kill all Jews.
Let's give Mr. Mamdani a chance to respond to that.
I want to be very clear. The occupation is a reference to international law and the violation of it, which Mr. Cuomo has no regard for since he signed up to be Benjamin Netanyahu's legal defense team during the course of this genocide. And I find the comments that Hassan made on 9/11 to be objectionable and reprehensible. And I also think that part of the reason why Democrats are in the situation that we are in, of being a permanent minority in this country, is we are looking only to speak to journalists and streamers and Americans with whom we agree of every single thing that they say. We need to take the case to every person. And I'm happy to do that, which is why I was on Fox News yesterday talking about how I wish it was more like NASCAR, so we could see all the billionaires who are sponsoring you right on your suit jacket.
Is the plan still to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to New York City with Donald Trump as his human shield?
And yet I think it is also important to say that the time of not only tolerating but celebrating Benjamin Netanyahu in this city from those in leading political positions, including the mayor,
the time of looking at Benjamin Netanyahu coming to this city and then making military decisions from this city to kill civilians, that time has to come to an end. Because New Yorkers, at the very least, want to bring an end not only to this genocide, but also to the complicity we have in the violation of international law.
To Gaza, do you believe the president deserves credit for brokering this ceasefire?
You know, I'll say that the news of a ceasefire leaves me with hope, the images of children celebrating, and I pray that it is lasting. I pray that it delivers peace. And I think that the question of praise should come in the enforcement of this ceasefire, because what this agreement can never do is erase what the last few years of tragedy have been for so many, whether it be Hamas's horrific war crime of October 7th or the Israeli government's genocide of Palestinians since. And what we are talking about is no agreement can bring back the rubble or make it whole. It can bring back entire bloodlines that have been erased. It can bring back hostages that died in captivity. And so we continue to both mourn and remember what has occurred and hope that the future will look far different than it.
So at what point would you decide that he does deserve credit for it?
If the genocide ends, then I think that's something worthy to be praised. And if the hostages are returned, those things together have to be done in tandem.
So you
when I think about a politician like Andrew Cuomo representing Benjamin Netanyahu, who is killing journalists intentionally because they are reporting on the famine and the starvation in Gaza. And then I think about what it means to be an American, specifically a Democrat in American, and the value of free press and the value of human rights. And so I think that there's a lot more in common with Donald Trump.
I met a New Yorker who had more than 80 members of her family in Gaza killed by the Israeli military. How do you speak to that New Yorker, understand their pain, and then answer the question of how a leading candidate for mayor volunteered to defend the leader that effectively killed those family members? And, you know, you mentioned it's a famine, right? We've just been certified by international experts that at least 500,000 Palestinians are in immediate danger of starvation, of acute malnutrition, of death. And since then, just, you know, in the little more than a week, we've now seen the Israeli military bomb a hospital and then bomb those who are coming to assist in the, you know, recovery right after the double tap strike. I mean, it is an affront to the conscience. And that what is so painful for us as Americans is that we are enabling this genocide.
Right.
It's not something that we're simply watching. We're not witnesses to it. It's a continued decision by our federal government.
For mayor of New York and not prime minister of Israel, but you've made inflammatory statements like calling Israel an apartheid state and questioning its right to exist as a Jewish state. Just this week, you were evasive with a reporter about condemning Hamas. Given New York has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, why should voters who see this as a moral red line trust your clarity and judgment?
Well, I really appreciate this question and an opportunity to just clear up, I think, a number of misconceptions. You know, first and foremost, you're right. I am running to be the mayor of the city, and this city will be the focus of my administration, ensuring that we make this a city everyone can afford and everyone knows that they belong to. And also, millions of New Yorkers, myself included, care deeply about what's happening in Israel and Palestine. And so to be very, very clear, of course, I condemn Hamas. Of course, I've called October 7th what it was, which is a horrific war crime. And of course, my belief in a universality in international law is also the same set of beliefs that have led me to describe what's happening in Gaza as a genocide. Because what we see is a war crime being answered with war crimes. And what we see is every single hour the Israeli military killing a Palestinian child for close to 2 years. And it's a horror that many New Yorkers feel so deeply. And my job, I can't stop that as the mayor of the city. I can make clear my own values, my own commitments. And it is a value and a commitment to humanity, to safety, to justice for all people that extends to everyone, Israelis, Palestinians, and everyone else across the world.
And recognizing that people do disagree with you.
Absolutely.
I'm one of those people on some of these points.
Absolutely, and that you're disagreeing with me doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in the city or you shouldn't be celebrated and part of the city that I'm trying to lead. And I think that's the other part of growing up as a New Yorker, learning that disagreement and difference is part of what it means to be here. And I want to be a mayor, not just for the people who voted for me, not just for the people who agree with me, but every New Yorker. And that means that if a New Yorker disagrees with me about Israel, I'm still fighting for them to make sure that they can afford this city, be safe in this city, and see this city as their home.
Well,